All right. Bonjour.
Hi, Sean.
Bonjour. I got my thing recording, but it's not live. I figure that's probably the best way to do it. That way it's easy to go back to. It's called Unlisted, so anybody with the link can view it. And that way it's not like, going out for God and everybody, and people in China can't find your credit card information or any creepy shit like that. Stuff. But, sorry if I use your bathroom.
Oops.
All right. Anyway, I figured if everything was recorded, that'd make sure that everything was safe and that anything that was said or taken out of context was easy to go back to, instead of, like, a lot of people want to make it an argument. I'm like, I screw up when I'm talking all the time. It's easier to apologize that way. Going back and listening to stuff sometimes, and it's not very often, sometimes people argue with me about stuff that I'm completely wrong about. Like, I could have sworn, and then I go back and I look, and I'm like, all right. Yeah, it wasn't this Stephanie, it was the other Stephanie. All right, that's better. Oh. All right, is there a place I should set up my computer?
So we can both look at it. I was thinking maybe at the table.
All right, I can do that.
There's a plug under the window, I believe.
All right. Let's see how well this is working. All right. It's kind of freezing up a bit, but I got 0 viewers, which is pretty standard. Although it was weird because, like, for about 6 months, it always said I had 1 viewer, and I'm like, well, I guess technically I'm looking at myself, so But I think that was on the private settings. Oh, may I talk you out of a tobacco?
But I'm going
Okay.
smoking outside only, so
Yeah.
I was gonna do that
that's what it
too.
was last time, too. I kind of figured I prefer smoking out in my car to smoking inside of somebody's house.
Yeah, I took down everything. Trying to quit.
I also prefer smoking in my own house as opposed to smoking in my car. But if there's kids over, I don't smoke.
Yeah. I started taking the Chantix, and I've slowed down. My official quit date is next weekend, but I'm gonna try to quit before then.
Yeah, when I quit, it's gonna look like this.
Oh, it's raining kind of good.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Sure, if I use your ladder.
Yep.
Thanks, man. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
So the sheriff's department didn't come, which I didn't think they would, but I wasn't sure.
Is it about the stabby and the shooting? Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to take pictures of those two. I'm like, yeah, that's something at least worth taking pictures of. Now, since it didn't go through the house, but it looks more like a pellet than a BB. It'd be a high-powered BB gun. They used to make them. If it's somebody who's
Pump
an
up.
older person.
Pump up BB gun, pump up pellet gun.
Yeah, but it has to be the older ones. The new ones have a max brake on them. They got a little pin on there that's got a spring that holds it down to a certain amount of pounds. Anything beyond that pounds opens up the valve and lets the air out.
Alright. Oh, it's the older guy that has it, that did it.
Well, he probably has a real one then.
Yeah. And of course, I can't prove it, and the sheriff knows that, but he knows the individual that I believe did it. So. Whatever.
Before I go accusing people, I usually got proof and evidence and witnesses. Our trajectory is important. If they bring one of them people out with one of them old sticks and stick it in your wall, they can probably figure out approximately where it came from.
But no harm, no foul. Just a hole in my wall, in my siding. So they're not going to do that shit.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too, because they had 8 police vehicles, or well, 8 law enforcement vehicles and 3 ambulances for one accident. And I looked at it, I'm like, there's one person in that vehicle and they're all just fine. And there's one person in that vehicle. Oh, now there's some fire trucks. There's 2 fire trucks. Oh, there's 3 fire trucks. Oh, there's 2 more fire trucks across the street. There's just pickup trucks that say fire department on.
Yeah. This would be the chief.
There was an awful lot of people there for such a little thing.
If you would cover it up when you're done. I'm going in because I'm
Yes, ma'am.
old. Don't rush.
I figured if I get here and get it started, the sooner I get it done at my pace, the better it'll get done. If you want to get started on it now, I don't mind mixing up some coffee while my computer's getting its thing going, because it'll take a minute.
Sean, do you remember if you had we're drinking coffee out in the shed?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. I'm going to cut down a coffee cup.
No, I didn't take any of the coffee cups out of the house. Always set it down right there when I left. I was afraid if I didn't, I'd lose it.
Well, it might have been when you were out there working a day or so before. I don't know. When the cup went missing, but I thought maybe it got buried out there and left it up there.
Well, I didn't left it out there, but it might have gotten buried out there. A lot of people, there's a stereotype about autistic people that we don't get social cues and don't understand people, and that's only to some small degree true. On an emotional understanding scale, a lot of people think that we don't have any emotions, but we understand our emotions and the emotions of others a lot better than most people. We score very high.
So you have a lot of empathy.
A lot of compassion as well. Compassion is actually a autistic trait, whereas many of the traits they commonly associate with autism are actually traits of post-traumatic stress disorder and specifically trauma-related traits. They say the reason that autistic people in America, the reason that no autistic person in America shows trait, or I'm going to have to look it up now. I want to make sure I quote it correctly, because if I don't, I can't remember. I'll have to look up. I got this thing, it's an inverter, so I can actually sit in my car as long as my car is running and record on my computer. So I can make calls that way and still record them live on YouTube. That way I still have evidence of them. I tried to follow every little tip and trick that the lawyers told me to do. They kept telling me to make sure the people I trusted had copies of the evidence. Of course, they didn't really help to do that, so I had to do all that work while on the road. I'm like, man, this sucks. I did get a lot done, though. It's just a matter of no matter how much I collected, they just say you're mentally ill, and then nobody looks at anything. My friends that admit that they were there for situations that I was being told never happened, and I was being told that these people didn't exist. Finally, I recorded them and put them on my YouTube channel, and they're like, man, that's so messed up. I'm like, dude, you let people treat me like I'm a schizophrenic nut job. Like these situations didn't happen and like you didn't exist. Are you kidding me? Some of my predators have kids, so they were able to play for sympathy on that. But the problem is I was never allowed to face any of these people in court. I was never allowed to show evidence. My public pretenders were only interested in trying to intimidate me into doing nothing. I'm like, man, that ain't right. I don't see how that's helping anybody. I don't see how that's defending anybody. I don't see how allowing them to drag this out for months and months and months without requisitioning the body camera evidence, how's that helpful? By the time any of them did requisition the body camera evidence, that's exactly the point in time where they dropped the charges. I'm like, why couldn't you have done that from the start? Like, wouldn't you think that would be their job, especially when your client is saying, hey, what they're saying happened, it's not the same. We need to get the body cameras. All right, let's see.
Here, I got you.
Oh, okay.
I need to fill the sugar thing.
Oh. All right, which one's mine?
The one that's not full yet. You can pour out of mine into yours if you want to. Thought there was 2 cups left.
Oh, you're good. I can be patient. Well, most of the bruising is gone, but my toe is definitely huge still.
I wonder why it's still swollen. I wonder what the biology is going on with the biology.
Oh, the inflammation and the heat is from, you got a lot of white blood cells that repair everything.
Right?
So when you break something like that, you got a jagged edge that they have to round off before they can start building on top of it in order to make it even more rounded. And then hopefully if the bones are pushed together enough, they'll fuse together. If not, it'll create a layer of calcium on each side and eventually that'll grow together. But it puffs up in order to basically create pressure and hold everything in place.
Okay.
And allow the white blood cells to do their work.
Sorry, it takes a minute. Yep, it might take about 10 minutes to load up, actually. It looks like it's going kind of slow. Oh wow, it looks like I'm connected to the hippie net. So it looks like I'm connected to the hippie net. Reminds me of a joke. So I had this hippie staying on my couch, right? And he'd been there far too long. I was like, hey man, I'm not trying to be rude or nothing, but you gotta go. He said, namaste. A lot of the places that I stayed at were extremely volatile, so I got a lot of different recordings from places that I was at because of the volatility. A lot of people were telling me, well, hey, this person tried to help you and that person tried to help you. And I'm like, all right, with all the screaming and shouting that was going on there, all of the hate that was going on, all of the brain cells that they were burning away. A lot of people wanted to give the indication that they were going to help me finally and just never follow through. And then they want to act surprised. Like, hey, you told me you were going to help me to turn this in. Here's what happened when I had to go turn it in. Here's how I told you I would be treated if I had to go in alone. Here's how I was treated when I went in alone. And there's a lot of people that were involved before Natalie was killed that they just were embarrassed, you know? They didn't want to admit that they screwed up. Like, yeah, sure, Sean came to me for help. No, they weren't going to say that after she got her brains blown out.
Is there any way for me to look at these without being on camera?
Yeah, you're not on camera now. My phone's over here.
But I mean, I don't want to be on your screen.
Oh, I have a sticker for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I call it the tinfoil hat sticker. Because people always look at me funny when it's on. Although I think it's so old that the sticky come off. I think I have a piece of tape I can put over it, like that blue tape somewhere.
While you're waiting, and I have another cigarette.
Yes, ma'am.
It's hot in here. It's cold out there. Can't find a happy medium.
Okay, so a fly goes to a fancy restaurant, right? And he says, "Pardon, garçon, but there's a flea in my poop." I thought it was a cute joke. Instead of a fly in my soup, it's a.
I'm
I'm gonna be smart enough to plug that in someday. Oh my god, I pulled my indies up all on my own. Mommy, wow, I'm a big kid now. This is what I was using yesterday. One of the biggest issues that I had with trying to get help before Natalie died was that I didn't know how to take screenshots. I learned that from a lady named Laura Nelson. Her name's going to come up a lot because she was involved in pretty much every step of it. She just never spoke up. The car that I drove to Virginia, I got from her and her husband.
okay. So you want me to look at sort of the preponderance of evidence that you're faced with.
Yeah,
You got it.
yeah. I also, if there's time, I wanted to show you some of the stuff in there that goes with the news articles that I'll be sending you, because the news articles show the names of people whose names are in my paperwork. Those people are in prison now. That's verification that I turned these predators in for doing these things to me. I was ignored. I was having to deal with the fact that these predators and their friends were calling me schizophrenic. I was never diagnosed as schizophrenic. Scott DaCosta called me schizophrenic. That's not the same thing. I've got a lot of the stuff here from different training manuals and training videos and stuff like that, but that's not what most of this is.
So what is it that you want me to take away from this session?
How much of it there is. I mean, I need someone to make calls with me and explain even to the media, even if it takes a few calls, even if it takes a full day worth of call after call after call for a whole day, just to get the process started. I mean, the fact is it's inhumane to make anybody go through this. The ones with eyes on them, those are all stuff that'll have to load, but it's
Right.
a lot of stuff like that. There's also this right here that it always comes up on my phone. There's every time that I was able to try to download it, this stuff pops up on it. It's little anime stuff, and it just annoys the crap out of me. So there's about 5 or 6 sections where that's going on. But I scrolled all the way down to 2022 here for a reason. I'll,
2022,
yep,
last year.
yep. You see here how it's duplicated a couple of things. It's done that a lot over time, just because there's a lot of stuff that I accidentally select too much because it's going slow, things like that. This is a missing person. I've been finding missing people for years. There's conversations on here, any of them with this symbol on them, those are all videos.
Right.
So, I mean, this is literally all of it that's not spam or junk is evidence of threats, harassment, intimidation. Me speaking out of threats, harassment, and intimidation. Me showing that the laws that were used to deny me my rights were not legal, that people are in prison literally for doing the same things that are done to me. This one right here, this one right here, there's hundreds of them just like those ones. They're all called the cops. The cops kept on telling me, Nebraska State Patrol, like I said, would tell me to call. I had to turn in Scott DaCosta. So I'd call Scott DaCosta, and Scott DaCosta would tell me I had to call Nebraska State Patrol. I did this for literally years. It's still happening. It sucks. Some of them are also calls to people who are supposed to be my advocates. This Nicole Peralta and Jen Beebe were court ordered to advocate, and they ignored me for 6 months. That's how I ended up with Megan Messigatis. And you'll find out how important she is in a bit. These are all conversations with some of the that were copies or things that of the different threats that were going on. Now I'm only showing you just the very start, because after this, it's basically just scrolling through. This right here was in a little tiny shed in Chapel, Nebraska. That's where I was having to try to do this from. There's multiple situations, like the nights that I was arrested. When I was trying to turn in Scott DaCosta, and I was arrested for trying to turn in Scott DaCosta. I was assaulted that night, and I had to try to turn in Scott DaCosta again. Multiple situations where I was threatened, harassed, and assaulted by his deputies or other people in town. This is a study on AR-15s and M16s. There's a guy who wanted me to make him an AR-15 or M16, and I didn't want to. I wanted one of these. They're toys. But this guy wanted to blackmail me into making him an illegal firearm and using my money to do it. So I made sure that on my Direct Express card in here, this exactly the same one with the same numbers and everything on it. I ordered the gun parts, the 80% kits with that. I made sure that there was a record of it by doing that. I was trying to get it red flagged because Megan Messigatis is the lady that I was trying to turn it into. The people that were court ordered to do their job, they didn't show up. They didn't answer any phone calls for about 6 months. The whole 6 months I was being vandalized and brutalized, and just nobody cared. Anyway, so this is going all the way back to, let's see, that one's Mini 14. Like I said, I was fixing guns for people for a while there. People had to wait like 2 years on a waiting list to get their guns worked on at Cabela's, so they were coming to me. And that's where that guy wanted the help working on his gun. And then I guess I broke it. There was a part that I broke, and it's like a $30 part. I ordered him a new one, or gave him the money to order a new one. He told me that I broke another part of his gun. It was broken, but I didn't mess with that part. But he said that it was my fault, so it must have been. So that ended up being him extorting me out of about $4,000 worth of my disability money to order him gun parts for his fantasy gun. The thing that has been built is this ugly monster that is literally is about as illegal as it can get. It's got a folding buttstock. It's got a rifle length barrel though. It's got a multiple clips with it that are loaded. There's 5.56 millimeter NATO grade ammunition in it. So, I mean, it'll literally go through any police officer in Chapel, Nebraska's body armor. It's in possession of somebody who is severely mentally unstable and wants to retaliate against me for telling the truth. So, I mean, it's a very scary situation for me, especially since I've been trying to turn this in since 2019, I believe. I've called everybody there is to call, and like I said, I record everything. So I've got call after call after call after call. These are all evidence of people threatening and harassing me, or people playing head games with me. A lot of the head games that people played, I mean, I've got their pictures. These are all people that used to be friends of mine. This is Brenda and Dennis Dickinson. Now, this is still September of 2020. If I scroll down quickly, it'll make them into little tiny ones there, and then we can get through it faster. That's a lot of stuff. It's the educational stuff too for part of it, but the majority of this is screenshots from threats, harassment, intimidation, people wanting to threaten to kill me or my friends and family, people calling from restricted numbers, evidence of people from all over the world threatening my life, some of them in languages that I don't even know how to look up what language it is. They don't have anything like that on my keyboard, you know? So, you notice we're still scrolling down. This is only June of 2020.
Dang.
Or July of 2020. Yeah, we're still scrolling back. When we get down further, you'll notice that there's no screenshots before a particular date, and that date is, all right, here we're in May 2020. This is all situations involving the Natalie Bollinger situation and the people that I was involved with in the Natalie Bollinger situation. These are a lot of the people who are offering to help. People who are involved in it. This is Brian Townsend. This is Chloe Pachovis. This is Christian Michael Bort. This is John Keeley. This guy goes by Shadow. But these are all people that I know in real life. Jessica Reinhardt. This guy, his name is Taylor. He's autistic. He has Asperger's like me. He's super smart. He's also I believe he might be a national champion yo-yo now. He does the whole yo-yo thing. All right, but this lady right here, she went by Layla Johnson. She stole somebody else's profile picture. These are called catfish, and I didn't know what they were before Natalie was killed. And then after Natalie was killed, I had to rely on hundreds of people that are catfish like this, or people that were threatening to kill me, or people who were pretending to be friends of mine. A lot of the recordings that I have on YouTube, which these ones aren't on YouTube, some of them do contain personal information. Or pictures of my predators, their kids that they wanted to post up. Oh, poor sympathy, poor me. See, I'm a dad with kids. I could never, ever threaten to kill a mentally retarded person. Like, really, dude? Are you kidding me? Thank you for calling me retarded. I got it recorded now. But it's evidence of me calling police, me being blown off, me explaining to my friends. You remember the paperwork I had you photocopy? That part where it says, if I'm being abused, what to do, and the first thing it addresses is my friends and family.
Right.
Those are the things that I've been telling my friends and family that I needed help with.
Right.
Since before Natalie was killed. I've been telling my friends and family that I needed help with that since I hurt my back. This is all stuff that I've known most of my life. I grew up in the system. When they give you, here, what is that, page 3, right? It says, how can elder abuse be prevented? And the first thing it goes to is if you are a family member or a friend. Try to see the person regularly. Frequent visits will help you determine if the person shows signs of abuse or neglect. I had to outright tell my friends and family that I was being abused and neglected because none of them, well, obviously, none of them saw me regularly, and it didn't faze them at all when I went from seeing them every day to never being there. When I tried to explain to them why, they didn't have the time. They wanted to tell me to go see them, and then I'd go see them, and when I'd get there, they were too busy. This is a friend of mine who's dead now. That's her wrist. Her name is Anna Honka. She was helping me with the situation as well. She was either beaten to death or she died of a seizure. I don't know which. But there's a lot of people who have threatened and harassed me over the years. I mean, how many have we gone through here already? And we don't get to see what any of them are this way. That's a picture I drew. That's an engine that I made. Actually, a really cool engine, but we won't get into that. The messages between myself and others that show that I told the truth about what's on my court paperwork, and then there's the evidence that shows that the people who claim those things in court, that my paperwork or that the evidence shows that they did quite the opposite of what they claimed, that all of them intentionally misrepresented the situation. A lot of these people, when they got busted doing things, they really, really put it on. But I've had to record the conversations with predators like Tim Beeson, Ted Bollinger, the harassment by them, some of my old friends who ended up doing some pretty messed up things after Natalie was killed. There's probably 8 to 10 people who I have recorded conversations with that are dead now. Heroin overdoses and fentanyl overdoses and, you know, dying of natural causes, heart attacks. Some of them, well, some of them were killed. You know, that's the thing that bugs me. A lot of them, they're not going to investigate it because they were homeless when it happened. This is Teresa Celia. I know it's a tiny picture, but she's one of the rape victims there in Boulder, Colorado. This is a lot of the slander that's said about me that people have harmed me over, and evidence that it's not true. Pictures of Natalie, that's her mom. Like I said, there's a lot of videos in here too. There's about 10,000 screenshots. Now, obviously, we're still in 2020. Through all of this, it shows repeated calls to the places I'm told to call. Sometimes 8 to 10 calls a day from one place to another, to another, to another, for each of them to tell me it's not their job, or to threaten, harass, or intimidate me for trying, to tell me I needed to go to friends and family for that. Well, these services are supposed to be created to help at-risk adults who don't have friends or family to help them with that. So it's a catch-22. We're still in January of 2020 here. I'm still scrolling. I mean, it's... Now we're gonna bring it all the way down to March 2017. That's Officer Abel Ramos.
That's what?
Officer Abel Ramos. March 2017. This is very beginning of it. This is the stuff that when you download it, it has a previous date on it, which is weird. So like this stuff right here, I downloaded this in 2019, and this one as well, but because it's dated for 2024 from the site that I downloaded it from, that's where it puts it. Same thing with this Volkswagen Beetle looking, it's actually a sidecar for a motorcycle. But the majority of it, this is right at the very beginning. There's 2 pictures from October 2017. They were actual pictures, photographs that were taken. These ones right here are all actual photographs that were taken from November of 2017. These are all actual photographs that were taken of the inside of Ken and Leah's garage. That's where I was living before Natalie was killed. I was supposed to go to the Front Range. That's what everybody in Nebraska told me. Nicole Peralta and Tamara, and there was supposed to be a lady named, I believe it was Amber, that was, or Ashley, that was going to help me out, but she was just, the first lady didn't show up for over a month. The second lady didn't show up. At that point in time, I was having my life threatened by Natalie and her friends and family. Now here's 2 videos of the walk. I had to walk to go see my friend Kayla Trujillo in order to try to meet Natalie Bollinger where she wanted to meet. I was being abused at Ken and Leah's at the time. I was being threatened repeatedly. They were taking my money. They were demanding me to do a lot of manual labor that my physical abilities don't allow me to do, and then telling me that I was lazy and I wasn't doing enough and I wasn't trying to do anything for myself. As soon as Ken left, Leah was a slave driver. Now this one right here is part of the walk. This is it, I believe, Virginia Avenue.
And So you were walking.
I was walking from 3395 South Zunai to, all right, this is on Yale actually.
But you were walking to meet Natalie, but Natalie was harassing you?
It wasn't Natalie, it was
Oh.
a protection order. That's the thing that bugged me, is that I was trying to get help from the police stopping the abuse, and they wouldn't do anything. They would literally not do anything. They just blew me off every time. I'd go to my friends, they'd blow me off every time. Meanwhile, Natalie's friends and family were harassing me and calling me at like 2 o'clock in the morning to tell me that they know where I sleep, they know where my family lives. And then, you know, there's like 6 friends of mine that I stopped being friends with while I was in Virginia. But I was sad about it.
But this is in
This is in Colorado.
Colorado.
Anyway, when people were calling me up and threatening to kill my friends and family, like they're naming people that I haven't talked to since I was in Virginia. You know, so I mean, it wasn't an okay thing to do. It was obvious that they were stalking my Facebook to get those names. It's obvious that they would have had to. And see, they just kept on doing this stuff. Now this, when Natalie said that she would meet with me, I left Ken and Leah's. It was,
So Natalie was in Colorado too.
yeah, I didn't know that she was in Colorado at the time. And when I went to meet her, it was a complete surprise that she was in Colorado. I'd been trying to get something going against her ex-boyfriend in Colorado and some of his friends in Colorado, as well as try to take Natalie and her family to court in Virginia because of the abuse that had happened in Virginia and Colorado. It wasn't just people talking shame. It was people harming me, assaulting me, threatening to kill me over it. And, you know, I recorded quite a few people doing that. It's just that, like, for example, Tim Beeson, the only reason I have that recorded is because he did it in typing. I didn't know how to record that stuff. I didn't even know how to take a screenshot of what Tim Beeson was doing.
Mm-hmm.
If I had been able to do that, I would have just sent that to Natalie Bollinger. I'd have been like, hey, here's what's going on. Anyway, this is on Yale. It's over 100 blocks for me to walk from, 3395 South Zunai. That's right over by Hampton and Federal in Denver. I know you're not aware of where it's at. That's why I'm describing it to you. So it's about 100 city blocks walk from Hampton to 120th. Well, it's over 100 block walk to the bus stop at 95th, because before you get to 95th, you have a whole bunch of lettered names before you get to the numbered streets. It's a very long walk. And then it's about a 10-minute bus ride that takes you up to 110th. And on 110th, you walk to 120th and Melody, which is where Kayla Trujillo was, and she was going to help me. Now, when I made this walk,
So you were going to see Kayla, and you got there in.
Well, I got to Kayla's house, and she gave me the ride to Boulder, Colorado, where I was supposed to meet Natalie. They gave me a protection order there, and I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know how it worked. What I knew is that I'd talked to Jeff Ritter and all of the people that I was told to go talk to try to get protection orders against the people that were threatening to kill me and threatening to kill my family and assaulting me when I went to go see my friends. I was told that I had to be along the Front Range, which is why I was staying at Ken and Leah's. They needed money or they were going to get kicked out of their place. So I was going to, after getting started with the protection, to see her again. Now, I made these 2 videos right here from the first walk, and this is a hospital that I passed. This is from the second walk. This is a dead fox that was on 100th, I believe. It was at a bridge that was crossing over there, and this dog had been shot. And I remember it's not a dog, it's actually a fox. But I remember taking a picture of it. That was from the 26th of December. That was when I left Ken and Leah's by one of their roommates. They had all three cornered me in the kitchen and were yelling at me because I had said something to them about stealing my money. Now, all of these pictures are from after Natalie was killed. This is while I am in Denver and Boulder, running around like a chicken with my head cut off, doing everything that I'm told to. Here's what was on the protection order. I didn't know what any of this was. When I was served the protection order, I didn't know where it was from. I put it in my backpack because I didn't have any help. I had no way to protect myself against it. It was already done. You know, from what I knew about protection orders, which was nothing, I mean, literally all I could do was get a lawyer and take it to court. And I was like, hey, you know, Jeff Ritter is the guy that I called. He's the guy I was supposed to call about this. He's like, well, we can't do anything until you have paperwork. Well, when I did finally get the paperwork, I did call him. I told him I got the paperwork. Help until we can't do anything until after the first of the year. Everything closed down. Well, no, everything wasn't closed down. That protection order, apparently I had a court date that I could have gone to. I had no idea. Nobody had informed me of this. Matter of fact, when I got the protection order, it was news to me because Natalie was supposed to be there. Obviously, she wasn't there. Obviously, even though I was told that I had to be in the same jurisdiction in order to turn her or her friends in for the crimes they were committing against me. And even in those jurisdictions, I was getting blown off for trying to turn it in. She was able to get a protection order against me all the way from Virginia off of nothing, literally nothing. So this right here is all of the information that she put down, all of the stuff that they required me to put down for a protection order. They didn't require her to put any of this down, or any of my other predators who wanted to pretend that I was some horrible monster. You goddamn right I screamed at them. They were assholes. That's good because my phone kind of shat out on me.
I'm having 4:30, by the way.
All right.
Our allotted time. So my son is supposed to have my monthly call
Oh, yes, sorry.
tonight.
Well, the thing is, like, you saw how far it took me just to scroll down to that far in 2022. Like, it would literally take me, at the last time I timed it, it took 38 minutes for me to scroll all the way down. When I say that my stuff is full of evidence, one of the things that I have to be afraid of, I have to make live recordings on YouTube because there's no room for me to save recordings on my computer.
Right.
So if the evidence on YouTube is destroyed, then I can't get it back. I can't get back the evidence that I spoke up, the evidence that, well, for example, when I go to turn somebody in, I always speak up publicly first. I make sure that my intention is known. And then I try to turn them in. When I have to try to turn them in alone, though, I'm generally arrested with false charges on me. So I can prove that. I can prove that when Scott DaCosta had me arrested, that him and other predators that I've spoken out about had worked there to prevent me from turning them in. I had an appointment set up with Nebraska State Patrol that Nebraska State Patrol did not follow through on in order to turn in Scott DaCosta again. And that's when Scott DaCosta had me arrested on false charges. Now, all four of the people, well, actually, there's about 11 people altogether, all of whom I'd already explained the situation. Small town, friends with each other, you know how it works. I'm assuming. You ever been to a small town?
I live in one now.
Yeah. Well, when you have to deal with the judge is a traveling judge, and he's basically friends with whoever's in charge in a particular town. If the police said something, and that's just how it is. The hospitals treat everything kind of the same way. That's nationwide. And a lot of hospitals, the doctors treat homeless people like they're junkies anyway going in the door. I got one right here.
Oh, I already get it. Okay. Oh, there you go.
I'd pull up some of the internet stuff and get it ready for showing you too. My court paperwork is the most important because it's actually the most condemning for my predators. So it shows they intentionally manipulated the situation, intentionally lied, intentionally misled the situation on multiple accounts and multiple occasions, knowing that I was trying to win and with the intent of preventing me from doing so.
Sorry.
It's all right. Now, this is one of the popular ones, although it's only got 900,000 views. This is from the news, Denver 7, 2.9 thousand views. That's one of Natalie's ex-stepmothers. She's also a predator. I speak up a whole lot. I mean, this crime salad one here is, give me a second.
So these are news reports and stuff.
A lot of them, yeah. This one right here is from 12 days ago. It's called Crime Salad. There are literally hundreds of these. We can filters. We can go 4 to 20 minutes. Find some that are 4 to 20 minutes long. I mean, look how many different languages these are written in.
And there's a few of mine down here on the bottom. Like I said, I've been speaking up for years. I've also been showing evidence of it right here. We can also search by this week, see if any were made this week. That one is in foreign language, so I don't know. Some of these, it turns out they make like 5 or 6 different ones. In one podcast, like an hour-long podcast, will have like 5 or 6 different murders in it. See, there's some of these are not Natalie. They just mention her.
You're searching YouTube for Natalie's name.
Not just YouTube, also Facebook. The reason for this, these are what's called true crime. It's entertainment to people. The problem is that they're using this entertainment to make innocent people targets. And, you know, each one of these tell just a little bit different version of the story. None of them tell the truth. This one's from 2 weeks ago. It's from someone called Seeker's Crime. She has another one where she called herself Truth Seeker. And, well, she was not very accurate. None of them ever are. They don't bother with looking at any of the actual evidence. The actual conversations between myself and Natty, I've got some of them saved here. I've got a lot of different people that were predators of mine and hers recorded in all sorts of these. This one, I'm not even going to tell you what that one is because you'll think that I'm crazy unless you listen to it. No, it wasn't an alien landing or anything. This guy just wanted to use some ideas to hurt people, and it was not okay. Joanna Taylor, this profile right here, this one is full of stuff from Joanna, where she was threatening to harm Natalie and Alicia and Maddie Boa if I killed myself. This is before Natalie was killed. And that's the reason I tried to destroy my Facebook account. I made a fake account to do that, but my fake account, it wouldn't let me because I didn't have a death certificate. Now this is the last public post made by Natalie Bollinger. This is what she had to say. And then there's a lot of evidence that it's untrue, but nobody cares that the evidence shows this stuff is untrue. What they care about is she called me mentally ill. She claims that I'm just slandering her and posting slander about her all over Facebook. I didn't post slander about her all over Facebook. I told the story of what happened in Virginia and about the abuse that I was enduring. And I've also got a whole bunch of videos on Facebook that aren't in that other thing. I was able to sort of make videos on Facebook before Natalie was killed. I learned, I want to say 2 months before Natalie was killed, I finally learned how to do that. This one is from December 13th of 2017. This is the day after I exposed her dad, and I'll show you that email too. This is retaliation against me for telling on people who were threatening to kill me and my friends and family. Now she typed here that I was telling her that I'd kill myself in front of her. No, I didn't. I didn't tell her that I would kill myself in front of her. Also, as far as threatening her family, the only person in her family that was threatened was Ted Bollinger, and that was after she was already killed. I threatened him back. Not the same thing. But here, she's still alive. I didn't threaten Ted Bollinger till April of 2018. Like she died only 2 weeks after making this post. She typed, please ignore him. This is what they do. This is literally classic gaslighting. She types, hey y'all, I have a public announcement. There is a man, Sean Schwartz. I met this man when I was young. I ran into him about 2 years ago. Long story short, actually she pursued me. She didn't write that down, did she? She typed, long story short, I became friends with him. By the way, I was accused of being
delusional because I had said that Natalie and I were friends. We were. Her words right there. She typed, I helped him out with rides and stuff. That's true. She typed, I moved to Virginia. That's true. She typed, he drove across the country to see me. Yes, that's true. At her request. She didn't put that part up there. She didn't type on there that she threatened to kill herself if I wasn't already on the road. She didn't explain that she had literally driven her car into a telephone pole because I wasn't already on the road. She typed, slept behind my work for weeks. That one is an outright lie. I slept behind where her sister worked for about 2 weeks at her sister's request because her sister wanted to see me every day. It says, when I told him I didn't want to see him anymore, he sent me hundreds of texts and calls. That's also not true. She was going to try to meet with me on Monday. She knew that the phone was busted. She knew it was fucked up. She knew that it was a messed up situation beyond my control. Her and her sister had known since my birthday that I was severely dehydrated. They knew that I was trapped there with no money and with no support network and that I was autistic. They knew exactly what was going on when they got busted by their mom with heroin on my birthday. And that's where it all went to hell. When Natalie's mom found her heroin, that was the last time I saw Natalie. We went to all the places that she and her sister wanted to go. And that's where the messages between her and I are important. And I'll bring those up in just a minute. It says, when I told him I didn't want to see him anymore, he sent me hundreds of texts and calls. Well, I didn't. She typed, he parked his car in front of my house, blocking Military Highway for hours. That's also not true. I got my car stuck in front of her mom's house, and it was for about 15 minutes. It says laying on his horn, and that's because somebody narrowly missed me driving around my car, which was broken down in the road. It was also a pre-existing issue. But it was, yeah, the phone that she gave me for my birthday, which, by the way, you don't give people gifts if they're stalking you. You don't invite people to go to Virginia if they're stalking you. You don't threaten to kill yourself if they're not on the way already, if they're stalking you. You don't insist on giving them gifts for their birthday or just regular gifts. You don't tell them that you love them every single day if they're stalking you. So that's why a lot of that stuff is important knowledge. Read how many times she types that stuff to me. I mean, my impression was that we were friends. Whenever she started getting too lovey-dovey with that stuff, I did push her off. Not like literally push her. I just let her know I wasn't interested. I'm sorry you're busy.
Okay.
Anyway, it says laying on his horn. It says he was treated and I was taken to the hospital, and my hospital paperwork showed that. But they wouldn't let me show that. I got lucky. I was able to find that in my busted ass car over at Ken and Leah's. Ken and Leah used Natalie's death as an excuse to kick me out and keep all of my things. It was very expensive, and also there was evidence that needed to be shown immediately, and they weren't interested in that. They were interested in hiding the fact that they'd been ripping me off for almost half a year for my disability money. It says he was arrested. That's an outright lie, obviously. It says, since then, I've asked him to leave me alone. I asked all of these people to leave me alone. Her friends, her family, leave me alone. See, I drove from Virginia all the way to Colorado, where my friends and my family and my support network were. And the very day that I got back to Boulder, Colorado, I got her friend, and used to be my friend as well, Maddie Boa, has spread rumors that I'm some sort of stalker, some sort of serial killer, some sort of guy who threatened to kill Natalie and her family, spreading rumors that I raped her and that I raped some little girl in Virginia and I was molesting little girls in Virginia and all sorts of just, you don't fucking do that.
Where was that? Where was that written?
Apparently she was in Colorado, but I thought she was in Virginia.
Where, Facebook, YouTube, what?
This is Facebook.
Okay.
Anyway, the events that she's talking about here, none of it happened in Colorado. This all happened in Virginia. over a year earlier. I had left Virginia. They should have left me alone. I didn't know she was in Colorado. I thought she was still in Virginia. I was pissed off because I was being abused in Colorado over shit that they had fucked up in Virginia. Now, I had tried to take all of the credit or all of the blame, whatever you want to call it. You know, I took all the blame. I'm like, all right, fine, it's my fault. I'm the bad guy. Will you leave me alone now that I said it's my fault? Will you please stop? They just wouldn't do it. Their boyfriends and ex-boyfriends, mostly Maddie Boa's drug contacts, which Natalie and Maddie, well, Natalie and her twin sister were obviously two girls that everybody had a crush on. If they even hinted that somebody might do something bad, a lot of these guys would do, or at least threaten to do very horrible things. Now, Natalie literally never told anybody that I raped her. She literally never told anybody that I molested her. She pretended like I might tie her up in a basement. All right, this is delusional thinking from somebody who is having what's called a drug-induced psychosis. Meanwhile, she is not the one who is having to deal with the severe abuse from it. I understand at that point she's scared shitless. She is back with the people that she fled Colorado, the people that she came to me for help getting away from, the people that she wanted help to get safely away from those drug addicts and the things that they did to her. And here, after her friends and family told all the stuff that they did in Virginia and made her feel like she was a horrible person for being friends with me, and went out of their way to insinuate that I was going to turn into some sort of a rapist or a murderer. Now, after all of this, she finally typed, after slandering my name like this, let me finish it here. Let's see. It says, since then, I've asked him to leave me alone, and he won't. He sent emails for over a year, close to every day, harassing me. That is an outright lie. 6 days total. All 6 of them were either A, I had literally just been assaulted by one of these predators over her, or I had to go and see somebody in these places where I was being assaulted by these predators. She typed, making numerous accounts until I block him again. I made one account. You see this one, Michelle Brannick? I didn't make that one to get a hold of her. The first one that I made was called Guitari's Case. I did make it to get a hold of her, to beg her to put a stop to this. Now, it says, harassing me, making numerous accounts until I block him again. Now, on multiple occasions, when I had contacted her, her friends and family had literally either just called me and told me that they were going to kill me, or my friends and family, or they were sending messages to me about how they were going to kill my friends and family, including her ex-boyfriend, Tim Beeson. That's the one with those red ones, the one with the red border. That's who that was with, Tim Beeson. She was pretending to him that I was some horrible monster. But then the messages between her and I at the time, which you're going to be able to see, showed that she was pretending like she was being nice and friendly, and she just wanted to put a stop to all the crazy. And no, it wasn't. It was a free protection order I didn't even know I had. When they did give it to me, I didn't understand how it worked. Nobody tried to explain to me how it worked. They were too busy trying to intimidate me. They didn't follow any of the legal procedures for this. They knew that it was going to be a complete walkover. Now, whenever I tried to turn in my predators, they tell me I have to go to where the crime was committed to turn it in. And then they'd tell me when I get to where the crime was committed, they say, well, you need to turn it in wherever you were when the crime was committed. Well, they told me I needed to come here, and back and forth and back and forth. Here it says, threatening my family, telling me he'll kill himself in front of me. I threatened to tell the truth is what I did. And this is a day after I exposed her dad for doing the things that he did with her emails. I didn't threaten to kill anybody. Now, later on, after hundreds of threats and her being dead for months and months and months, and me still receiving threats and harassment and not able to turn in my predators because the police keep pressing false charges on me, I literally had to break the law. And that sucked. But she claimed that I threatened her family. I absolutely did not. They threatened me. She tried claiming that I was telling her that I would kill myself in front of her. Oh, I wanted to. Maddie Boa, too. Now, I did let both of them know that I wanted to blow my head off in front of them so close that they would feel my blood spatter on their face. See, here's the thing about making false accusations. Natalie didn't claim that I was a child molester or a rapist. That was Maddie Boa. Natalie didn't care that it was being said about her. She wanted proof, but how was I going to send her proof when she blocked me and refused to look at anything? People were literally threatening to kill my family and literally assaulting me for going to see my friends and family. What was I supposed to do? Anyway, she typed, and sending my friends and family harassing messages as well. I was asking my friends for help. I was reaching out to the people. Like I said, police officers kept telling me when I'd go to them, they'd tell me, all right, I have real police work to do, or you just need to man up, or we just don't have those services here, or you need to go to where it happened, or, you know, you really should try to deal with this at court like two grown adults. Have you tried talking to her? Have you tried calling her? Like, Jesus Christ, none of this is helping me. But it says, and sending my friends and family harassing messages. They kept on making over and over again. They made fake accounts to harass me on over and over and over again. And when I begged for help, that's literally what I was doing, is begging for help. They wanted to pretend that I was the one who was being the bad guy, like I was being some sort of a stalker for asking the people who started this crap to put a stop to it. The police and my friends and family, they didn't care. They were too busy telling me how to think and how to feel. They didn't even hear what was going on. Most of them didn't know that I was being assaulted because they literally wouldn't shut up long enough for me to spit that sentence out. I was too busy answering questions because rather than listening to the victim, they wanted to grill me. Like, what the hell? Anyway, it says, I'm sharing this because he's posting slander about me all over Facebook. So if you receive a message, I'm sharing this because, or I am sincerely sorry. Please ignore him. It only encourages him when he gets a response, much like a child. He's mentally ill and I'm trying to fix this. Now you can see this is the fake profile that I made, Michelle Brannick. And I stated on it right there, I made this account so I could get rid of my real Facebook permanently. It didn't work. I hate Facebook. I literally made this account specifically because of, let me show you this lady here, Joanna Taylor Smith. I didn't want her, as the messages in here show, if she was going to make their lives living hell if I killed myself. I didn't want them going through that. I just wanted my life to end. I didn't want anybody harming Natalie or Alicia or Maddie. These are friends of mine. These are people that I do love and care about, regardless of the things that they did to me. Natalie tried framing me for her death. And then there's all of the horrible things that people did afterwards. There are literally hundreds of these. This one's from 2 weeks ago. This one's from 3 weeks ago. You know, there's not many under 4 minutes. There's a few between 4 and 20 minutes. There's a few over 20 minutes too, like this one here. This one right here that's in French. My predators, by preventing me from having access to the internet to their rubber stamp doctors, they were trying to get these doctors to claim that I was schizophrenic and delusional because I claimed that these things were done in multiple languages. So look at this one right here, 8.6 thousand people, sponsored by NordVPN. How about this one? Only 41 views. They might have said something honest in that one. It makes me wonder. Let's see. All right, Sword and Scale, episodes 109 and 110. These ones right here are some of his most popular ones. This guy has over 3 million viewers. This one right here only has 10,000 views. He was sued for defamation. He defamated a lot of people's character, including myself. So he's got a lot of other victims. This is one of the news places that was going to help me after Natalie was killed. Instead, they took my name and took an interview that the agreement was that they were going to turn in the interview in its entirety over to the police, and that they wouldn't print a story until after they found Natalie's killer. Instead, Sword and Scale episodes 109 and 110, if you listen to them, you'd be afraid of me. Now, this guy has a history of harming people, harming individuals like myself. His hatred for people who are called mentally ill is horrible. I'm trying to show you these though, because it'll show you how many views on this there was, how many people. Sword and Scale 110. No, it looks like they might have maybe I got the filters on. I don't. You know what? There's an easy way to do this. Sword and Scale episodes 109 and 110. This guy basically just tries to insinuate that all of Natalie's predators are the good guys and that I am a horrible person. Joseph Michael Lopez, the guy who actually killed her. Bollinger is the dad that raped him. The police were allowed to speak. I wasn't. Only family and friends. Anybody who tried to stick up for me, these people made their lives living hell, especially this Mike Boudet fella. And you see a lot of people want to pretend like this stuff on the internet. All of these people who want to comment on this stuff and make it very popular, and it is. It results in me being harmed, and that's the problem. That's the reason that the laws are supposed to be enforced, is so that people like me aren't harmed in exactly this way. They deny me the safety net for a mentally ill person by saying that I'm intelligent, so I should be able to do it myself. Now his, the one that he made about Natalie, over 3 million views. I mean, there are so many of these, and it's because of the popularity of it. People don't care if these people are telling the truth or not. These folks went out of their way to destroy evidence. They went out of their way to paint me as a horrible person, to make sure that the public would attack me, the public would assault me, that there was no other thing that was going to happen after the way that they threw me out into the public to be chewed up by dogs. But there's also the shit that I go through everywhere that I move, where I'm treated like I'm an animal, where everybody tells me it's somebody else's job. Like the phone call made with me, all of them resulted in being told to call somebody else, or them saying that they were going to call back and not calling back still, playing stupid and all of that. Like when you called and explained about the assault, when they realized that I record everything and you explain that to them, you know, they changed their attitude.
Yeah, and I was hoping we had time to follow up on that one here. But that's not the purpose that we're getting together today.
Yes, ma'am. Part of the purpose is so that I can show you the sheer quantity of this. Some of these, this right here is just the day that I went in when I was drugged and I tried to turn in the doctor. these right here are the doctor's appointment and what happened there and how he broke the law. Didn't follow procedures, didn't call social services. He told me to call a place that literally had been terrorizing me for trying to call them because I was told to call them before. So the lady who was in charge of it, her name was Courtney. So I called up Courtney like I was instructed to by the doctor.
That's my doctor, I'm sorry.
All right, one moment. Well, this is being recorded, so let me move this.
Hello?